Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Lord N. And today, I'll be reviewing a rather low-budget, obscure sci-fi film, and it's this one right here, folks. I figured I'd review another sci-fi film again, because why not? I've already reviewed quite a few of these as it is, so I guess another one for I suppose. And of course, this is going to be one of those, cheaply made films with a low budget. And yes, it's obscure, but that's fine. As always, I do have the top of the plot. So, let's get into it, shall we? So here we go. And of course, as you can guess, it's going to have something to do with outer space, obviously. So basically, the film's going to be centering around that. There's these four astronauts traveling in space, encountering alien species, in search for a planet that humans may inhabit, pretty much. So it's a journey into outer space kind of flick, which in some ways is kind of typical for this genre, but, I really don't mind it, really. So anyway, this supposed to take place in a far distant future where there's this thing called Spaceship Hope 1 that sets off to find new galaxies for people, of course. However, there's an encounter with an alien being, and of course, some crazy shit starts happening, obviously. So, yeah, the Hope 1 space vision picks up where, it's supposed to be doing. It is searching for planets to colonize. The crew, of course, want to do their best, of course. Even though, there may be some sort of struggle, of course. And, yeah, those are meteor shower, so to speak, that damages something, of course. And the crew just land on a certain planet. And, oh boy. And let's just say that they do overshoot a land mass and now are resting on the ocean floor, so to speak. And, of course, let's just say this movie becomes rather weird when you think about it. But hey, no one says that has to be a bad thing, of course. But anyway, that's basically the premise of this film. And would they make it out a-okay? Well, you're gonna have to watch the movie yourself because I ain't gonna spoil everything. So this film is pretty much, one of your low budget sci-fi films, and I can say that this one it has some pretty cool charming factor in its own little way. I did like this film as a whole, and even though there might be better sci-fi films out there from this, I guess this era, but this movie isn't too bad, I suppose. I did like the overall style of it. The premise is pretty good, and I liked what they were doing with this, obviously. So I guess the alien design is pretty cool in its own little way, of course. I like the design of the creature, of course, alien or whatever you want to call him. Yeah, he's pretty cool in his own little way. So there's a thing, folks. So I can say I did enjoy it, obviously. And you do have to keep in mind this was made way back when, before computers were ever invented. So and there was absolutely no CGI being used in this film, like at all. So you just have to, remember that. This film is available on a single disc DVD, even purchase yourself through Amazon or eBay if you don't want to, go into stores physically and just deal with people, I guess. So I can say that. Yeah, basically, this four scientists, three men and one woman, they head to a certain planet, but they are flying through some asteroids, and of course they are thrown off, which causes them to land on its ocean, so to speak, rather than on its land. So let's just say on the ocean bottom, which appears to be some crazy place, so to speak. They've experienced these crazy encounters, which of course going to be some sort of crazy ass adventure and whatnot, folks. I did enjoy this film, but it did drag on here and there. But overall, I did enjoy this film as a whole, folks. I did like the costumes that were used for this film for the astronauts. They were looking pretty cool, folks. And I can say but that, yeah, they were trying to have some characters in here, folks, with some sort of personality, which is fine, I suppose. So they're trying to make it seem that they're likable in one way or another, which in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, obviously. So, if you have not seen this film, folks, I would say give it a shot. It is pretty crazy in its own little way. I don't mind the fact that this film takes place in outer space. It's a sci-fi movie after all, of course. And the credits of the television version that came about, this film was titled Space Monster. So, yeah, which is kind of cool in a way, folks. This film was actually really titled Space Monster. And, I can say that this one is definitely something that I wouldn't mind watching again because it has its own charm, I guess you can say, because I did like what was done in here, folks. So I can say that this movie is definitely one of those films you probably would just watch from time to time. If you could have something to do, or maybe just bored in one Saturday morning or whatever, I would say pop this in, I guess. If you're gonna find yourself a copy of this film, that is. Characters were basically forced to land somewhere not knowing that there's these creatures that would await them. So yeah, some crazy ass adventure for these characters, folks. Yes, sir. But of course, that's part of the fun. They have to explore its own land and its own area. So they of course had to, go and experience some crazy wild stuff. I don't mind that really. And like I always say, folks, they sure don't make them like they used to. No, sirree. I know not a whole lot of people on this side would actually talk about movies like this, but that's kind of the reason as to why I'm gonna do this kind of a thing, because I want to just explore some of the things. Yeah, look at this alien guy. This alien creature looks hideous. Oi. In some ways, he actually does remind me of somebody. Yeah, my ex-girlfriend. Holy shit! What the fuck was I thinking? Maybe I had too many drinks. Ew. Anyway. So yeah, folks, this one's pretty wild in its own little way, but that's perfectly okay, of course. Yeah, some of these special effects might become pretty cheesy over time, but there are certain shots in the film around space that are actually really well done, and the monsters are pretty cool, of course. I did like the fact that this is done in an old style special effects way, which we don't see a whole lot nowadays. So I appreciate the film doing that kind of a thing, I guess. It's mostly because they didn't really have a choice, really. This isn't really a big budget film, and if this was made today, most likely this would have been filled with lots of CGI. Would have, pissed me off in some ways. And I'm not against CGI really, but I just think nowadays it's just overused. So anyway, folks, I'll say that this film gets an overall rating of a 6.8 out of 10. It gets a 6.8 out of 10 because it's pretty solid. As always, thanks for watching and take care. Till next time.